Hi, Steve Lackmeyer here with another edition of OKC Central. Today we're with JoeVan Bullard, Director of the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority. JoeVan, thank you for joining us.
Certainly. Good to be here.
So tell me, first of all, how many buildings have you had to use eminent domain on to tear down the last year?
0.
Last 6 years?
0.
So clearly, do you think there might be some misperceptions of what urban renewal is these days? It's kind of changed over the years, hasn't it?
I certainly hope it has changed over the years, because it did have a very dark cloud over it early in its career. And everybody that's been associated with urban renewal throughout the years will admit that some mistakes were made early on. And the mistakes, I think, seem to overshadow the actual successes that urban renewal had. If you look at the Med Center and some of those early projects, came online, did exactly what they were supposed to. But yet, when you involve the acquisition of property and have to go through the condemnation procedures, eminent domain, that in itself is a very trying situation. If you're on the receiving end of that, yes, you may end up with a better, more decent, safe, sanitary house, but your neighborhood's been uprooted. And so that there's still some very strong feelings in certain parts of town, but Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority today is a much different animal than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Until last year, it seemed like urban renewal was really rocking along. There were hotels being built as part of urban renewal, a lot of housing projects, some retail projects. This year, it's been tough with the crash. Tell me, how bad is it?
Urban renewal projects are just, I think, a mirror image of the general economy in terms of redevelopment, new projects on the board. Those that are on the board that aren't out of the ground aren't coming out of the ground right now. Those residential projects that are out of the ground are not selling right now. So, yes, there is a considerable slowdown. The still working with the Presbyterian Health Foundation. We just finished and opened up building number 7, new garage over there. But on the foreseeable future, that will slow down, has slowed down. We're hoping to have the groundbreaking for a new hotel coming out of the ground maybe within the next 60 days, just south of the Med Center on Phillips, 8th and Phillips over there. And, of course, downtown, the one project that is still going as quickly as it can is the Devon World Headquarters project downtown.
People forget that's an urban renewal project, don't they?
It's going on urban renewal land, yeah. And it was, for many years, it was reserved as the Galleria, retail Galleria site, and then has been for the past 20 years parking. And now it will, I think, work out very, very well as a huge employment base there just north of the Mary Gardens.
As urban renewal has continued to evolve and change over the years, I've got to wonder what's next. Where do you see it being in 5 to 10 years?
I think the role of urban renewal will be dependent upon what the city wants it to be. We're an authority that, of course, is created through state statute by the municipality. And urban renewal is, we've got to be in lockstep with the city. I think it could serve a role for the city, and I think it will serve a role for the city. One of the possible roles it could play is a land banking type agency, if and when the money is found to do that. I think the city will probably use the services of urban renewal in some capacity as the new Court Shore area begins to come online. Of course, that's a very long-term project, with the Central Park, of course, being one of the first elements there. But I see us serving in a role that whatever the city wants us to.
Well, thank you for joining us. For all your latest downtown development news, visit my blog at www.okccentral.com. For all your latest news, sports, and weather, Go to newsok.com, and for all your festivals, festivities, restaurant listings, WIMGO. Looking back, some might see the Hales building as an odd pick for preservationists to have used as a last stand against urban renewal. The 12-story building was one of the city's first skyscrapers when it was built in 1908 as the home of State National Bank. It was transformed into office space by W.T. Hales when the bank merged into First National Bank and Trust Company. The building took the Hales name in 1928, a name that stood out for decades along the city skyline. The building, at Robinson and Main, was placed on the urban renewal hit list in the mid-1960s. But trustees of the Hales estate had other plans. They wanted to spend $1.4 million to save it from demolition. The battle ended up in court as Hales heirs argued over whether the renovation would wipe out the bulk of their estate. A judge ruled against the remodeling, and the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority bought the building for $800,000. They wanted to then tear it down to make way for a planned Galleria Mall. That announcement sparked debate among preservationists about the building's value, and the Hales' great-grandson, Bill Peterson, asked Urban Renewal to sell him the building for a $6 million renovation that would have updated the building so it could complement the Galleria project. City council members at this point, tired of urban renewal demolition downtown, supported the move. But urban renewal officials refused to budge. A federal judge ruled against a suit seeking to block demolition. On April 8, 1979, the building was demolished. Ironically, a funeral procession protesting demolition was led by Tiana Safuda. She changed her last name to Douglas after marrying engineer Don Douglas, and was herself named director of the Urban Renewal Authority not too long after. These photos and more can be found at Pictopia at News OK.